Augustine's dominant influence. There is no question as to the important role Augustine played in molding Calvin's thinking, theology, and actions. This is particularly true concerning the key foundations of Calvinism. Warfield refers to Calvin and Augustine as two extraordinarily gifted men who tower like pyramids over the scene of history. Calvin's Institutes of the Christian Religion make repeated favorable references to Augustine, frequently citing his writings as authoritative and using the expression, confirmed by the authority of Augustine. Calvin often credits Augustine with having formulated key concepts, which he then expounds in his Institutes. The following are but a very small sampling of such references. "We have come into the way of faith," says Augustine. "Let us constantly adhere to it. The truth of God is too powerful, both here and everywhere, to dread the slanders of the ungodly, as Augustine powerfully maintains. Augustine disguises not that he was often charged with preaching the doctrine of predestination too freely, but he abundantly refutes the charge. For it has been shrewdly observed by Augustine, De Genesi ad Litteram, that we can safely follow Scripture. For Augustine, rightly expounding this passage, says, "I say with Augustine that the Lord has created those who, as he certainly foreknew, were to go to destruction, and he did so because he so willed. If your mind is troubled, decline not to embrace the counsel of Augustine. I will not hesitate, therefore, simply to confess with Augustine that those things will certainly happen which he, God, has foreseen, and that the destruction of the non-elect, consequent upon predestination, is also most just." Augustine, in two passages in particular, gives a favorable portraiture of the form of ancient monasticism. Calvin then proceeds to quote Augustine's commendation of the early monks. Here the words of Augustine most admirably apply. This is a faithful saying from Augustine, but because his words will perhaps have more authority than mine, let us adduce the following passage from his treatise. Wherefore Augustine not undeservedly orders such, as senseless teachers or sinister and ill-omened prophets, to retire from the church. We could multiply many times over the above examples of Augustine's influence upon Calvin from the scores of times Calvin quotes extensively from Augustine's writings. Leading Calvinists admit that Calvin's basic beliefs were already formed while he was still a devout Roman Catholic through the writings of Augustine, an influence that remained with him throughout his life. Augustinian teachings that Calvin presented in his Institutes included the sovereignty that made God the cause of all, including sin, the predestination of some to salvation and of others to damnation, election and reprobation, faith as an irresistible gift from God, in fact, the key concepts at the heart of Calvinism. We search in vain for evidence that Calvin ever disapproved of any of Augustine's heresies. Calvinist Richard A. Muller admits, John Calvin was part of a long line of thinkers who based their doctrine of predestination on the Augustinian interpretation of St. Paul. In each expanded edition of his Institutes, Calvin quotes and relies upon Augustine more than ever.